practice problem answers are number 1, 33 and 353 thousandths. Number 2, 1 and 7,644 ten-thousandths. Number 3, 13 and 463 thousandths. If you have an answer that disagrees with one of mine, stop the tape and find a tutor to assist you. We've just learned that when we add and subtract decimals, all we do is line our decimals up or keep our decimals straight and then add and subtract like we would normally do. Well, let's see what happens with multiplication. Written a multiplication problem down, we have 2 tenths. We want to multiply that by 3 tenths. Then we want to multiply by 1 tenth. Well, as you might guess, the answer to this is going to be some version of 6. But is it going to be 6 tenths, 6 hundredths, 6 thousandths, 600? You know, how would we write our answer? Where would our decimal go? That's something we need to learn. So what we might do to help us decide what's going to happen is go back and remember what we know about fractions. Let's take this problem and write the problem in terms of fractions, and then use our multiplication rules of fractions to see how we're going to get our answer. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. Point 2 is actually 2 tenths. Point 3 is 3 tenths. Point 1 is 1 tenth. So what I really want to know is what 2 tenths times 3 tenths times 1 tenth will give us. Now when we multiply with fractions, we just multiply numerators together and write the answer down and multiply denominators together. So let's do that. 2 times 3 is 6 times 1 is 6. 10 times 10 is 100 times 10 is 1,000. So we did get the 6 that we thought we should, but we got 6 thousandths. Now with fractions that could be reduced. But what I'm really interested in is knowing what's going to happen with my decimals. So I don't want to get rid of that 1,000. So let's write the answer down up here and look at it in decimal form. I'm supposed to write down 6 thousandths. So I can put my 6 down. To make that 6 look like thousandths, I need 3 decimal places. So I'd have to put 0, 0, and a decimal point here. And that gives me the 6 thousandths. Now, let's think about how I could have gotten the 0.006 or the 3 decimal places. What you actually end up having to do is to see how many decimal places each factor has in it. This one has 1, this one has 1, and this one has 1. And you need to add all those places together and make sure your answer has the sum of those places. 1, 2, 3, our answer has to have 3 decimal places. So we're going to count the decimal places in each factor, and then our answer will have the sum of those decimal places. Now normally when you would see this problem, you probably wouldn't see 0.2, you'd probably see 0.2, and probably 0.3, and 0.1. But when you were getting ready to multiply, these zeros just tell you that there are no whole numbers there, so you could really forget the zeros and just multiply the 2, the 3, and the 1 and count the decimal places. Also in your final answer, you would probably see a 0 in front and then the 006 to tell us that there is no whole number in the answer, and then our answer has 3 decimal places and it's 6 thousandths. Let's see how the rule for multiplying decimals would look if we tried to write this down. Okay, the first thing you do is you multiply your numbers as if the decimals were not even there. So if you have a long problem and you're going to multiply it out, you write your numbers down under each other and imagine the decimals are not even there. Once you do that, and you get your answer, you go ahead and multiply it out just like the decimals aren't there and get your answer. Now once you get your answer, you have to decide how many decimal places it should have in it. So the answer, which we call the product, should have the same number of the number of decimal places equal to the sum of the number of decimal places in the factors. Your answer should have the number of decimal places equal to the sum of the number of decimal places in the factors. Now let's do some examples. Okay, this one is 1/10 multiplied by 25 hundredths multiplied by 3/10. Now, I could do this without really putting the numbers under each other because my numbers are so small. If I just ignore my decimals and think about multiplying 1 times 25 times 3, 1 times 25 gives me 25. And then 25 times 3 would give me 75. So my answer is going to be some version of 75. Now I need to see where my decimal point would have to go. So I count my decimal places in my factors. This one has 1, this one has 2, and this one has 1. So if I add those up, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 plus 2 is 3 and 3 plus 1 is 4. So my answer has to have 4 decimal places. So to make it have 4 decimal places, I would need to put 2 zeros in front and then put my decimal. That would give it 4 decimal places. And my answer would be 75 10,000s. Now usually you see a 0 written in front of your answer here too, to tell us that there's no whole number as a part of our answer.